Star Wars books are notoriously difficult to get into. There's hundreds of different books, each focusing on hundreds of different topics and characters. So, where do you start? If you just randomly pick a book off the shelf, you are bound to pick one that you either weren't ready for yet, or is in the middle of a series, and that's always a scary thing. Luckily for you, the team at Youtini has picked the best Star Wars books to start with. Hey everyone, my name is Emma Park. I'm a content creator here at Youtini, and today I'll be talking about the best Star Wars books to read first. But before I begin, please subscribe to Youtini's YouTube channel and make sure to hit the notification bell so that you'll be the first to know whenever Youtini drops a new video or goes live. With that, let's get started. Youtini has a list of the 5 best Star Wars books to read first, called the Foundational 5. It's been a staple on the site for a really long time now and is always our go-to when recommending books to people just starting their EU journey. That list will be the foundation, no pun intended, of this video. This list contains books from both canon and legends. Now, if you need a refresher on the difference between the two, check out our video in the description below. Now let's dive right into the list. First up on the Youtini Foundational 5 is Lost Stars by Claudia Gray. If you've done any research at all into Star Wars books, you've surely heard of this title. Not only is it easy to recommend because of how great it is, it's also a really awesome place to start your Star Wars reading journey. Lost Stars takes us through familiar parts of the original trilogy from the perspectives of the main characters Thane Kyrell and Ciena Ree. Because of the familiarity with the era, it makes for a fantastic starting point. Now, besides the time period, the story itself is just classic Star Wars. 2 kids are in love and both share a passion for flying, but their lives take different paths down the line. So, not only do you get a very interesting story, but you also get a great introduction to Claudia Gray's work. She's one of the most legendary Star Wars authors, and honestly, I've never read a word of hers that I didn't like, so this is a great reason to start here. Next up on the Youtini Foundational 5 is Darth Bane: Path of Destruction by Drew Karpyshyn. This book is a great story for people who love the Sith or even love Sith history. In fact, the very infamous Rule of Two gets its origins in this book, which is reason enough to read it. Path of Destruction takes place about 1,000 years before the Clone Wars and focuses on Dessel from the planet Apastros, who uses his Force powers and then joins the Sith army. Dessel becomes Darth Bane and his powers grow throughout the novel. This book is the first in a trilogy focusing on Bane. Now, without the events in this novel, later legend stories that focus on the Sith would be much different than how we know them to be. Because of that, this could be considered an essential Legends read. Third on the Youtini Foundational 5 is The Revenge of the Sith novelization by Matthew Stover. This book is famed among Star Wars fans for being perhaps the best Star Wars book ever written in the entire expanded universe. In fact, as of the time of this recording, this book has the single highest score on all of Youtini.com. Now, that's saying something. Putting all of the hype aside, it's easy to overlook film novelization since they just adapt films that we already know and love. However, this book is different than any other novelization out there. Its defining feature is its incredible writing and characterizations. This isn't just a one-to-one rehashing of the film. In fact, George Lucas told Matthew Stover that he could change some parts, obviously not the major plot points. But it's these changes and expansions and additions that really make this book one of the most stellar ones out there, and Stover does it like nobody else. That's why we consider this book absolutely essential, no matter if you're reading canon or legends. Next up on the Youtini Foundational 5 is Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn. This book is infamous, and for good reason too. Many major characters are actually introduced in this book. Grand Admiral Thrawn, the Solo twins, and Mara Jade. We also get the returning classic characters of Luke, Han, and Leia. This book helps usher in the era of the New Republic. So, such an epic story that introduces us to so many new elements deserves more than just one book. As such, Heir to the Empire is the first book in a trilogy. Because of all of these new and integral characters, as well as the beginning of the New Republic, we recommend this book for anyone new to the expanded universe. Plus, it's a classic Star Wars book that changed the landscape of the expanded universe when it released in 1991. Last on the Youtini Foundational 5 is Kenobi by John Jackson Miller. This book takes place between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, and is the first time we see Obi-Wan Kenobi after the events of Episode 3, which is obviously a huge draw to the book. We see Obi-Wan hiding on Tatooine, watching over Luke just as he promised. but he's still a Jedi at heart and therefore still helps people in need. This book shows Obi-Wan helping moisture farmers stuck in a battle between a group of settlers and Tusken Raiders. Kenobi faces tough decisions because he still needs to hide from the Empire. We recommend reading this book early on in your expanded universe journey because of just how easy it is to get into this time period. You don't need to know anything else before reading this book, which is a huge factor when deciding what to read first. Plus, who doesn't want more Obi-Wan in their lives, right? Now, we couldn't just leave you with 5 books, so here's 3 additional honorable mentions brought to you by the Youtini staff. First up is Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. This book focuses on Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn and takes place before the Phantom Menace. The events of this book take us to the planet of Pyjal, where the 2 Jedi are needed to help the planet's leadership with political issues. Obi-Wan starts to question the ways in which Qui-Gon operates as a Jedi. For example, he questions Qui-Gon's enthusiasm for prophecies and lack of respect for the rules of the Jedi. Because of this, we get to see their relationship grow and change. This book is fantastic for people just getting into the expanded universe because of how little content there is surrounding this time period. Because of that, there's no prerequisites going into this book. Plus, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are fantastic characters that translate really well into book form. And of course, who doesn't want more Claudia Gray? Second on our honorable mentions list is Thrawn by Timothy Zahn. This book marks Thrawn's triumphant return to canon. It's also a great tie-in to Star Wars Rebels in that it shows his rise to power in the Empire. The Empire finds an abandoned Thrawn on an equally abandoned planet. The Empire sees him as an asset, so he joins their ranks. This book essentially shows his rise through the ranks as well as his acclamation to Imperial service. If you're looking for an introduction to Thrawn in canon, then this is the book for you. The amount of knowledge that you need to have going into this book is relatively low, which also makes it a great starting point. Last but not least on our honorable mentions list is Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. Kicking off the High Republic era, the hype for this book was real, and for good reason. This book is lauded as one of the best Star Wars books ever, rivaling some of the most hyped Star Wars books. The book opens with the Great Disaster, which is the centerpiece for the novel. The Jedi are shown to be quite different than the Jedi we know from the prequels, which is very interesting to see. Soule's writing is fantastic. He makes us care about a multitude of characters that we've never even met before, and the new connection to them is very real. Since this is one of the very first entries in the High Republic era, there is absolutely nothing you need to know going into it, which makes it a perfect starting point. Literally, there's nothing else in the era that you need to know about except for what's been in the books and comics so far. But Light of the Jedi really is a great starting place in this era as a whole. Plus, you're gonna want to get on this High Republic hype train, trust me. That'll do it for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed our guide to the best Star Wars books to read first. But we want to know what you think. Comment down below and let us know. Our Discord server has great conversations on these books and many others, so I highly recommend joining in at youtini.com/discord. If you'd like to help support Youtini, links to all of the books mentioned in today's video are in the description below, as well as a link to the Foundational 5 article written by Michael Hilton. If you'd like to take a deeper dive into the books, check out The Living Force, or catch the live show every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Youtini. Visit us online at youtini.com for timelines, reviews, and book profiles for every single story in the Star Wars galaxy. Lastly, if you'd like to help Youtini more directly, visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/Youtini. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.